What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Next Pats podcast. I'm Phil Perry. Massive episode for you this week after the Patriots had that massive win in Buffalo. We've got our good buddy, Rob Ninkovich, two-time Super Bowl champion Rob Ninkovich, on to tell us whether or not he thinks this team is for real and whether or not he thinks this could be a playoff team. We're also talking about, of course, Drake Maye and his performance through 5 weeks, as well as Mike Vrabel and how he's handled a very young locker room in Foxborough. But I wanted to start the podcast by telling you a little bit more about your quarterback and why I think the job he has done is even more impressive than you'd think. It's because he's doing everything he's doing without a running game. The Patriots have been one of the worst rushing offenses in football through the first month plus of this 2025 season. Let me give you some numbers. They are seeing the fewest number of quote-unquote light boxes in the NFL through 5 games. That means a lot of bodies near the line of scrimmage. It also, generally speaking, means a lot of single high safety coverages. Opposing defenses and their coordinators, they want to take away the Patriots' run game. They probably know that Josh McDaniels wants to stay balanced. They know, obviously, that Drake Maye is a young player. His offensive coordinator might not want to put everything on his plate this early in his career, so they are taking away the run, and boy, oh boy, have they succeeded in that regard. The Patriots right now are second worst in yards after contact per attempt. They're fourth worst in rushing success rate. They're fifth worst with 3.7 yards per rush. They're sixth worst in the league in EPA per rush, and they're eighth worst in the league in terms of the number of 10-yard runs they have been able to accumulate this season. And all of that is occurring despite the fact that the offensive line has actually given those backs some room to run. They're in the middle of the pack in terms of their yards before contact per attempt. That's something that Next Gen Stats tracks. So they're getting space, and yet they're still not able to do a lot with it. And without that help of a running game, Drake Maye, still one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league. He has seen a lot of single high safety coverage. That usually means a lot of one-on-one coverage on the outside, and he has made teams pay. He is second in the league in EPA against single high safety coverages this year. No run game. Still, the quarterback is having success because he has been that accurate. He has been that good out of structure. He is that comfortable pushing the ball down the field to targets that we all thought before the season might not be able to have all that much success on the outside and down the field. Clearly, that chemistry with Stephon Diggs is there, and it is helping. But the quarterback, that guy right there over my right shoulder, doing everything he's done without the help of a traditional running game, has been massive to this team's success so far. All right, let's hear more about their success so far and if they're able to continue it in our conversation with Rob Ninkovich. Here he is. There he is, the great Rob Ninkovich. Nick, thanks so much for being with us. I have to ask you, first and foremost, Mr. Flex Appeal, you know what it takes to make it to the postseason. It's what you did every single year of your career here in New England. AFC Championship games galore, Super Bowls, obviously. With what you've seen from this year's Patriots team, do they have what it takes to make the postseason?
Phil, come on. It's 4 weeks into the season. We're going into week 5. They look good. Yes, last week against Buffalo, a big division game on the road, Buffalo Bills undefeated. They look good, but I can't say right now that they're going to be a deep playoff team. They're getting in the playoffs. I need to see more consistency week to week. I mean, we were just talking about them being a completely different team when they were fumbling 5 times the other, 2 weeks ago, right? So at this point right now, I think the progress looks great. They've come a long way in a couple weeks. You win two games back to back, a nice victory by a lot of points against the Panthers. Now you go on the road against a big divisional opponent and you win in the fourth quarter when you got to have it. That's what I love to see. We haven't seen that in a long time. And I think the fans in general were so pumped up about that win because we haven't seen that. Usually in that moment, they don't come out with the win over the last 5 years. So I love what I saw from Drake Maye. I think he got out of the pocket, used his legs, was smart, got the ball down the field. I think Diggs was amazing. It was a, game against his old team. He was jacked up before the game. He was ready to go. I like what I saw from the defense. They're doing a great job of stopping the run. But there's things we definitely need to clean up moving forward. A lot of penalties still. I mean, if you look at the first 3 weeks of the season, they kind of shot themselves in the foot a few times with penalties. So right now, I'm not going to say that they're a playoff football team because it's only 4 weeks into the regular season. 5 weeks, actually. They're 3-2. But I would say they look promising. They look like they're improving week to week, and that's what you want. So if they continue to do this, then I would be very confident in saying around Thanksgiving, if I continue to see improvement, that they are 100% a playoff football team.
Obviously, whether or not they're able to make the postseason, a lot of that will ride on Drake Maye and what he's able to do. He has been very good through 5 weeks. We'll see if he's able to bring that level of consistency that you are looking for. You made your living, though, Rob, chasing quarterbacks and hunting them down and trying to bring them down in the pocket. If you were defending Drake Maye, how annoying might that be in terms of your job week to week? What would you be trying to do to try to thwart what it is he wants to do on the other side of the line of scrimmage?
Well, I was pretty frustrated watching Buffalo because they were letting him out of the pocket to his right. If you are a right-handed quarterback, it is much easier to throw from the run out of the pocket to your right with a right-handed quarterback than it is to go to your left and throw with a right-handed quarterback. So what they were doing is they did have a mirror guy. That's the mirror signal. They had a mirror guy on him, but he was getting out of the pocket to his right. And we saw the throws that he was able to make. That one great throw to Diggs there on the sideline. He made actually a couple throws on the sideline to Diggs to his right. So if I was game planning against a guy like Drake Maye, I would make sure my left defensive end didn't get too high to where he could just get out of the pocket. Make sure that you're at a level rush to the quarterback to where he has to step up and out, because once you step up, the mirror guy is able to get to you quicker instead of out of the back of the pocket. So, one thing that I have been impressed with is Drake's ability to see the pressure, but also keep his eyes down the field. If you watch a lot of young quarterbacks, what they do is they look at the rush and then they lose their vision down the field and they panic. So the very impressive thing for me is he's able to get out of the situation, but keep his eyes downfield and still find an open receiver. That's very promising for a young quarterback.
If you're Mike Vrabel, this is somebody who's been trying to push Drake Maye's buttons, it feels like, a little bit. It feels like it's working. Whatever they've got going there in terms of how they've tried to drive him and drive his ability to lead, it feels like we're seeing progress in that area too, never mind what he's done with his play on the field. I'm interested in your take on Vrabel in terms of how he's handled the entirety of the team, though, Rob, because there are things that are happening that I don't think would have happened under the Patriots teams that you played for, right? If you fumbled the ball on a consistent basis, it felt like you were going to lose some playing time. If you were committing penalties on a consistent basis, there weren't going to be excuses made for you at the podium. You might lose some playing time because there was laundry on the field when you happened to be out there and you weren't doing the right thing. So when you hear Mike Vrabel, let's go with the Ramondre Stevenson example. Another fumble this past week, he continues to tell us we're going to need that guy. We're going to need all those backs in that room. Should he be handling that situation differently? How would you handle it if you were in his shoes?
Well, I think he's handling it in the best way possible based on what the team needs and the talent levels that they have in that position. Vrabel is a former player, so he understands how important the mental side of the game is. Listen, we all know football's very physical and you're out there, you're getting beat up, you're getting hit, but confidence goes a very long way when you're playing football. So I think Vrabel understands, because he has been in that position, how much confidence and being on the field when people believe in you goes and how far that goes in the NFL, really. So I think he's making sure that he continues to give confidence, boost the players up, because at the end of the day, you need your players. You need the guys on the field. And if there is a problem, like right now, there's a fumble issue, but you're never going to get through that issue if you just bench the guy, because you don't know how he's going to react to that. And, similar to Drake, I think earlier in the year during training camp, early in the season, Vrabel kept talking about, well, he's working on leadership. He's showing his leadership. the biggest and most important aspect of leadership is your performance. So you can be a verbal leader, but if you're not out there and you're not performing at a high level, it goes on deaf ears. You're not listening to the guy that's not performing. So you better believe that when Drake is saying something now, after the last few weeks that he's had, that everyone in the locker room is listening to him. And as he continues to mature and grows in the offense and performs at the level that he is performing, he might not have to say a word. People are automatically going to follow his leadership. They're going to follow him because he's performing. So maybe Vrabel was poking him a little bit to get more out of him. And now that we've seen the performance that he has and his completion percentage and how good he is playing, guys are going to follow him because he's a performer. And at the end of the day, the best performers are the best leaders.
So it sounds like you like the job that Mike Vrabel has done. He does feel like, he has tailored his approach to this generation of players. And I consider you a different generation. But it sounds like from what you've seen.
Calling me old? You calling me old, Phil?
You and I are of the same generation, my friend, and I'm not young. I'll just put it that way. But you like what you've seen because you understand. You played with younger players. You're not out of the league all that long. You understand that maybe is what they need. If Mike Vrabel's giving them what they need, that's the right approach.
Well, the job of a head coach or any coach is to get the most out of each player individually. And how do you do that? You have to get to know these guys. And that starts the day that you walk in that building. Certain guys need to be pushed a certain way. Other guys need to be coddled a little bit. And I feel like, yes, this generation is changing and you have to adapt and change to that. It's not going to be the old school, suck it up, pay waters for the week. Don't drink water. You're not tough. That's over with. Now we have to, change with the times. And now these players are a little bit different, like they're a little different. I'm not going to lie here, but I think Vrabel has done a good job as a former player and a coach. He has the best of both worlds here to understanding how do I push this team? How do I bring the team together, not drive a divide in between this team? We're bringing guys together from all different age groups, backgrounds, bring them together. Let's win together as a team. Let's build this together. And, he's doing a good job so far this season.
Great stuff there. One number 50 on another number 50. Rob, I do have to ask you before we go, because you've spent some time in New Orleans. You were with the Saints. You've got some family down there still, I believe. Your lovely wife,
yes.
Paige, is from New Orleans, from the area. If we've got listeners, if part of our audience is going down to New Orleans, down to the Bayou, to go and watch this game this weekend, what is the one place they have to visit either before or after the game?
Oh, that's tough. Should I go in my southern accent? I'm sorry.
Yes, please. Nope.
You got to go down to New Orleans, you got to go to get a crawfish etouffee. You got to have yourself crawfish or broiled oysters. So po' boys, you got to have a po' boy. Shrimp po' boy, beautiful, really good. A charbroiled oyster, must have. Okay, got to do that. And yeah, po' boy, oyster, gumbo. Those are the three things you got to try.
I love it. And you don't give any specific names because, listen, there's no free ads on the Next Pats podcast. No free ads on the Dan and Ninko show either, which I can appreciate.
Right.
Please go listen to this guy wherever you get your podcast. Rob, you're the best. Thanks for being with us, buddy.
All right. See you guys. Take care.
Coming up on Next Pats, we are taking a look at a couple of college football players that are among the best in the country at their positions in the trenches. Might they be able to help the Patriots in 2026 and beyond? We're also taking a look at your mail from this week. It's all coming up next on Next Pats. All right, friends, let's get into our Who's Next segment. This is where we tell you about draft prospects in the 2026 class that could help the Patriots moving forward. I know it's a long way from now, but we're trying to project out what might the Patriots need. I feel like we already have a decent idea of what those positions might be. Let's start this week's conversation by talking about an offensive tackle. And yes, Will Campbell has been tremendous. That's right, tremendous at left tackle in terms of his numbers when it comes to time to pressure, overall pressure rate. He has been very, very good. Far exceeded the expectations of most who looked at that length and said, I'm not so sure with him. But do they still need another player at that position? Morgan Moses has been good as well on the right side. Do you want somebody there that could play that spot opposite Will Campbell for the foreseeable future. I think it might be a worthy investment for a team that is going to need a long-term fixture there opposite their previous number 4 overall pick. And so this week we're talking about Caden Proctor from Alabama. Now, he has done nothing but play left tackle, and so maybe that makes him a bad fit. Some guys can't swap from one side of the line to the other. But in terms of first-round talents at this position, rare physical specimens, Proctor qualifies. 6'7", 366 pounds, and boy, oh boy, did you see him a couple weeks ago against Georgia. Take a screen pass on the outside, not only catch it, but then rumble and bumble his way down the sideline, nearly scored a touchdown on it. I would be stunned if we don't see it again, because who wants to tackle that guy on the outside? Now, if you're drafting him in the first round, it's not to catch the football, but he has been excellent in terms of his blocking responsibilities lately. Rough start to the season. Bad game against Florida State earlier this year. But over the course of the last 2 weeks, he is Pro Football Focus's highest graded offensive tackle, left or right, has allowed 1 pressure in games against Georgia and Vanderbilt. Clearly, SEC, you're seeing some good competition there. If he can continue on this pace, he might make himself a draft pick that is out of reach for the Patriots. If the Patriots are a 9 or 10 win football team, we'll see where they end up picking. But this is a guy that any team looking for a tackle at either right or left, because I think he's athletic enough to play on that right side. This is a guy people are going to be interested in. Caden Proctor. Keep that name in mind. Let's flip it over to the other side of the ball and take a look at one of the best pass rushing prospects in this upcoming draft. It's David Bailey out of Texas Tech. Nobody in FBS has more pressures than this guy through the 2025 season. He's already at 31. He had a whopping 11 against Houston last weekend. 6'3", 250 pounds against Houston. 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble to go along with double-digit pressures. That is a dominant performance, and if you watch it, you see a little bit of everything when it comes to getting into the backfield. He can beat you with a spin move. He can beat you with the long arm dip and rip. He can beat you with the bull rush. He'll play the run as well, chasing things down from the backside. He is clearly an elite athlete, but he's also an intelligent player. You can see that football IQ on the field. He also spent 3 years at Stanford. Smart guy. Last year, he was an all-academic ACC selection. So for Mike Vrabel, opposite Harold Landry, who has been a huge find from this past offseason in terms of his performance that he's given the Patriots, has certainly exceeded my expectations. But what do you have opposite Landry? Kayvon Chason has been a good player for the Patriots, been a little bit in and out of the lineup because of injury. He's already a little bit of a journeyman player. Maybe he has staying power here in New England, but he's on a short-term deal. Are you looking for that staple on the other side of the line of scrimmage who gives you real pass rush juice? That's what Vrabel wants. Anthony Jennings, remember, had a hard time having a role. Now he has played, and I think he's actually played well this regular season, but he was not viewed as a scheme fit through camp, and it felt like there was a chance he might get dealt before the year began. So what does Vrabel want? He wants these guys who can get up the field, who have great athleticism, who can disrupt opposing passers. It ain't all about setting the edge. While that is important, and you do want to be able to stop the run, it ain't as important as getting in the head of the guy with the football. David Bailey out of Texas Tech could be that guy for the Patriots in 2026 and beyond. All right, let's dig into some of your mail, shall we? Got some great questions on Reddit this week. Had a tremendous time going back and forth with the r/Patriots community. Was able to do that a few times last year as well. Had a blast. Had some great questions here from that group. And this one that we're going to get to is from 2NILBog. He says, I'm wondering how you'd compare the current Josh McDaniels run offense to previous iterations when Tom Brady and Mac Jones were at the quarterback position. Reader goes on to ask, as a casual observer, I've recognized a lot of plays concepts that I've seen before, but I don't always know what I'm looking at, especially without seeing the All-22 film. Have you noticed any major differences to account for Maye's strengths, his limitations, his inexperience, etc.? This is a great question, and your eyes are not deceiving you. You have seen a lot of the things that you've seen before. Single back power with a pulling guard. You've seen a lot of fullback. Jack Westover is out there in a traditional I formation. Drake Maye under center. These are all things you saw with Tom Brady, you saw with Mac Jones, but there is certainly plenty of new that's been sprinkled in as well. Think back to week 2 when we saw all of those West Coast concepts incorporated. Really, it felt like for the first time, at least with this crew, with Drake Maye, working alongside Josh McDaniels. And those plays had all kinds of success. Those are quote-unquote breather plays, is what pass game coordinator Thomas Brown told me earlier this year. You can give the quarterback a little bit of a breather because you get him on the move. He's comfortable doing that. And it's a nice, simple read. It cuts the field in half. You usually have a short, intermediate, and deep option. You find your open guy, and you deliver. Those are breather plays for the offensive line, too. Those guys are usually under a lot of stress when they have to pass protect. But on plays like that, you're running in one direction to get the defensive front to bite in that direction as well, and your quarterback's booting to the opposite side of the field, and you really don't have to worry about getting into your traditional pass set and beating a freaky edge defender or interior defensive lineman on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So those, to me, are relatively new for Josh McDaniels. He hasn't had quarterbacks that can run those types of bootleg plays, consistently at least, in the past. Now, what else have you seen? You've seen some RPO. You've seen some option quarterback-designed run game. I thought the play at the end of the game in Buffalo, let's go back to that superhuman play from Drake Maye, where he's stiff-arming a 320-pound defensive lineman. He's somehow able to get the throw off to Stephon Diggs, and it really sparks that 2-minute drive that ends up winning the game for the Patriots. That was a relatively complicated call. That's counter bash. You have a guard and a tackle from the left side that are pulling around to the outside. You have the option, if you're Drake Maye, to hand it to the back and run counter to those pulling linemen and try to take advantage of where the defense ain't. They actually used that play the previous week against the Carolina Panthers. Travion Henderson ran it in that instance. Your other option is, if you're Drake Maye, is to run it yourself around those and follow those pulling linemen. You could also keep the football, let those linemen pull, and then before they get down the field, because you don't want a penalty, you can throw it to one of two options. On Sunday night, it was either Stephon Diggs or Hunter Henry running a corner route down the field. A lot going on that play. And it didn't work because Garrett Bradbury was asked to make a really difficult block in that instance. It's why Drake Maye had pressure on him as soon as the ball was snapped almost. So those are the types of plays that you can run with Drake Maye. Obviously, you'd love to have the situation where they're blocked up a little bit more effectively. But when you have Drake Maye, not only can you run plays like that you haven't run before if you're Josh McDaniels, but you have a quarterback who can bail you out of bad calls because of his physical skill set. That play should not have worked. That should have been a sack, a loss of yardage, and maybe eventually it turns into a punt. And you're giving the football back to the most dangerous quarterback in the league at the end of the game with a tie score. But because you have Drake Maye and because you have that physical skill set on your side now, you can make something out of nothing oftentimes, and it's an explosive something out of nothing because of the talent at that quarterback position. So plenty of old from Josh McDaniels, but some new as well. It's a great observation by you. Speaking of observations, I think you're going to have the opportunity to observe another strong performance from your quarterback, Patriots fans. This weekend in New Orleans, they are one of the worst defenses in football, the Saints are, when it comes to pressuring opposing quarterbacks. Second to last in the league in pressure rate. And so what do they try to do to make up for that? Well, they try to blitz. They're top 10 in the NFL in terms of blitz rate. Just not a great idea against Drake Maye this year. He's actually third in the league in EPA against the blitz. You remember what happened just last week in Buffalo. Sean McDermott opened the third quarter, tried to blitz Drake Maye to kingdom come, the way he did last year when Maye was a rookie. Only this time, it didn't work. And McDermott had to pull the ripcord, and we know how the rest of the night played out. If the Saints want to try to speed up Drake Maye with a blitz, it could end up being a long, long afternoon for them. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Next Pats podcast. Thanks so much for being with us. Thanks so much to the great Rob Ninkovich for joining us. Enjoy the game this weekend, and we'll be breaking it all down next week on Next Pats. We'll see you Friday.